Rev up your engines!
Random dude says, hey Scotty, how's a 2018 Mazda? Should I get an auto or manual? Thanks. Well, if you don't mind driving a standard transmission, you're much better. Mazdas had a history of a lot of problems with their automatic transmissions throughout history. But I do have to say, the Mazdas are now getting better, because Mazda's got an affiliation going on with Toyota. They now have a factory that's in Huntsville, Alabama. And they will be building Toyotas and Mazdas on the same assembly line, not separate lines, the same line. Mazda's taking a lot of Toyota technology up. Better for you buying their products. I kind of forecast that in the future, Mazdas are going to be much better cars than they used to be because of this type of affiliation. So, yeah, I've got a customer who's got a 2018. They love it. Theirs is an automatic, and I know they are a little more complex, but that particular automatic was entirely designed by Mazda engineers. They weren't using the crappy Jatco transmission, so it's a big change there. Jason Barber says, is auto start-stop bad for the engine? Well, of course, technically, it's bad for any engine. Gonna wear the starter out faster. Start, stop, start, stop. All the engineers tell me 90-something% of your engine wear. Start, engine sitting there, the oil drains out of the cams on top, goes down, you start it up, there's more wear. So you're adding all that extra wear. Now they claim they put in better bearings and they put in better oil pumps and this and that and stronger starters. But you keep turning something on and off and on and off, guess what? It's going to wear out faster. It's only common sense. To me, all those start-stop technologies are just like a Band-Aid. Oh, it pollutes less, it gets better gas mileage. It's such an infinitesimal amount of extra fuel that it uses idling versus starting it and stopping it that I don't think that it would ever even compensate for the extra wear of the engine myself. If I had one of those vehicles, I would turn it off permanently because I find it annoying when I'm driving a car like that. If you're sitting at a railroad track waiting for the train, hey, just turn the engine off yourself. Don't make a machine do it. Sean Cummings says, Scotty, what's the best SUV to buy? Well, best is a relative term. Now, to me, the best is the one that's going to last the longest and cost the least. So I would buy an older Toyota one I could get cheap that could still last for years, like a Highlander, or if you wanted a smaller one, a RAV4. Best is really in the eye of the beholder. There, you got to realize that. If you're looking at SUV, you got to pretty much decide, what do you want to spend? What do you want to get? If you don't mind a base model, get a brand new base model Toyota and drive it forever. But if you want a luxury model, you're better buying one that's a few years old and save a ton of money, because the difference between the base and the luxury ones, especially in Toyota or Lexus, hey, that can be $8,000-$10,000. And then when they're used, you save a lot more. So in that case, you might want to buy a used one. You got to decide, what you want, and then go out there. Just don't go out with a wide open thing, because then you're going to get confused by all the choices. You want to buy new, you want to buy used, you want all-wheel drive or just two-wheel drive? Make a decision about what you want. And my advice, two-wheel drive is better than all-wheel drive because it's a lot cheaper to maintain. They get better gas mileage, they last longer. But if you live in a really snowy place, well, you might want to go all-wheel drive. There are 4 all-wheel drives are pretty good. But decide whether you want to spend that extra money, get worse gas mileage. Do you really need all-wheel drive? Ronald Meyer says, Scotty, why is Honda betting on the turbo with a CVT? Because they know people want power, and they want to get power out of a smaller engine that gets better gas mileage, and CVTs get better gas mileage because of their inherent design. The computer has it running at the perfect ratio for gas mileage. I mean, that's just, believe me, the computers can do a better job gas mileage than you can. They just can. As human beings, we're, antiquated now. Last year, I got one of those Mustangs with 10-speed automatic transmission. Now I'm like, I don't like automatics. So the Mustang, I want a standard I can shift, right? Well, believe me, it ran a lot faster with that 10-speed automatic than I could ever drive it if you put it in sport mode or track mode, because the computers can work faster than you can shift better than you can, and then they set up, if you go into the track mode or the sports mode, so that it has more extra acceleration. You can't do all that stuff. Those things can think so fast, thousands of a second. They can do something that'd take you 2 seconds to do. So, you can't go any faster. They're all going to smaller turbocharged engines with CVTs because of power and gas mileage ratings, and I don't think that's going to change. Hopefully they get them perfected. The early Honda ones, the smaller ones, Earth Dreams engine, they've had problems with oil dilution. Maybe that new oil that's coming out, 0W16, will help fix that. We don't know. But the more strain you put on a vehicle and the more complex the transmission system is, it's invariable that they're going to have problems as they age, and they're going to be expensive problems to fix. That's just the way it goes. The Yankees, 2340, say, boy, you're looking for a real future Yankees thing. 2340, huh? Way in the future. Will they be playing baseball then? Hey, Scotty, what are your thoughts on the 2020 Corolla Hybrid? Yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm not a hybrid fan myself, but Toyota makes the best hybrids. They've been making the Prius for 20-something years. The same technology is now in the Corolla. If you do want a hybrid, I would say that would be the one to buy because the Corollas have had history of dependability. Toyota's been making CVT transmissions. Realize the Priuses, because of their inherent design, they have always had a CVT transmission, so they've been making them for a really long time, and they're pretty bulletproof as they stand. Put that same technology in a Corolla, it'll probably be a really good vehicle. I just don't like hybrids because of the extra expense when the batteries go out. I plan to keep my cars 20 to 30 years. Most people don't, but if you want to get a hybrid, that'd certainly be the one to get. Almighty Skooma says, Scotty, what's your take on rebuilding steering racks and pumps? Greetings from Poland. The pressure that's inside a power steering system is immense. Sometimes it's as much as 1,600 pounds per square inch pressure. They go bad. You try to rebuild them by putting seal kits and stuff in them. They might not last that long because if the rods that they're sealing are pitted, then it's going to eat up the new seals relatively quickly. If they are actually rebuilt in a factory where they calibrate them and maybe they have to machine down the rods and then put oversized seals in it, that's one thing. But a lot of these rebuilding places don't do that. I have had quite a few customers over the last 52 years bought rebuilt power steering racks, and they would only last maybe a year, 2 years, and then they go out and leak again, and the customers were mad. I tell them personally, if you want to keep your car forever and you want to fix it right, buy a new power steering rack. And there are other companies that make them, so you don't necessarily have to buy a factory one that costs, $1,200 or more. But trying to rebuild them yourself, that's a real, if you don't mind taking it all apart and rebuilding it, and then a year or two later doing the same thing again, you can go right ahead. But realize the metal will go bad through fatigue, and unless it's all machined down with oversized seals, it may not last that long. Jonathan Real says, Scotty, what do you think about the 2016 Nissan Titan Platinum Reserve Cummins? You really have a Cummins engine in a 2016 Nissan Titan. The Cummins engines are very good engines. They can be good vehicles. I haven't seen any particular problems about it. Now, the diesels aren't that popular here in the United States, but if it is a Cummins engine, it could be a decent vehicle. Magic Iguana says, should I buy a Ford Crown Vic with 64,000 miles for $3,200? If they can really prove that that's 64,000 miles on that vehicle, decent deal. Those things can last a long time. That's low mileage. I mean, you want proof that it's low mileage. I have so many times people say, oh, yeah, that's the real mileage, la, la, la. I say, okay, how about some proof? State inspections, because each year they write the mileage down. Oil change receipts, whatever, that have dates and mileage on it, because I often see people lie about mileage. You can't believe what people say. But if it is real mileage, it could be a decent car for that price and that low mileage, 150, 200,000 miles. They're well built. But make sure it's the real mileage. People tend to lie about mileage on used cars all the time. Rosario Rev says, Scotty, the car was hit in the gas tank. It's a really low price. It's a Toyota Matrix 2003. All right, well, the gas tank is in the back, but it's under the back, and if it hit the gas tank, it had smashed the whole back of the car in. I'm always leery about cars that were wrecked that badly. Now, if it is really cheap, first thing I'd do, look at it, I'd get a hose, and I'd hose the whole back of the car by the hatch. And if water came pouring in, I'd say, forget it, it's leaking. It was bashed and bad and it wasn't fixed. Now, if it runs okay, take it on the highway, it doesn't roar because the wheel bearings are running, and it handles good and it doesn't rattle all around and pull because the rear end was all smashed in and now the alignment's all off, cheap enough, hey, it could be a good car. Those things can run forever. But when they're rear-ended and the gas tank was smashed, hey, the gas tank isn't at the very end. It's kind of in the middle of the back. It would have been crunched in pretty good. So you'd want a guy like me to at least look at it before you bought it. Pranab Mondale says, can we use silicone spray grease instead of AT205 reseal for rubber rejuvenation? Well, silicone, yes, is good for rubber. But the AT205 is actually better. Silicone damages anti-pollution systems in your car. It's bad for the oxygen sensors. It's bad for the catalytic converter. So if you spray around and some of that silicone getting sprayed inside the engine, that's bad. Seal doesn't do anything. It's just a polymer and you put it on. You're better off using that. Silicone has some pretty good uses, like you want to use it on the windows for your power windows, on the rubber seals on the front and the back so they go up and down smoother. Great. You just wipe off the excess after you're done. I wouldn't really use it for that. I use the AT205 for any kind of rubber. Silicone spray, it does have its usage, but especially under the hood, you don't really want to use silicone spray because some of that might get sucked into the engine and it will damage the oxygen sensor and the catalytic converters over time. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.